It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
All right, everybody, welcome into episode 83 of the Border War. We are post-rivalry week in college football, but before we get into that one, we want to thank everyone for tuning in this week and for downloading the couple episodes last week. Whichever platform you're using, keep using it, share it, like it, tell your friends about it, get the word out. Do not let them listen to the local personalities that we have here. So
I don't
BG,
see how anybody does anyway, but
oh my goodness, it's going to get worse now.
it is. We don't want to go into details. We don't like using people's names.
No, but
It's been tweeted about by others other than us.
I was going to say, the one tolerable one they had there is now gone. I think officially he's now gone.
And just remember, guys, if you're listening to this, we don't do this because we want to. We do this because we have to.
Exactly. Good point.
I mean, we're just trying to fill a vacuum. If you're listening to us, we would rather be doing something along with you right now, but here we all are.
We're trying to be helpful.
We are going to continue to take one for the team until situations improve.
We're doing it all for you. So BG, we'll start with your Gamecocks. They go down to Death Valley Saturday. They lose, maybe by a little more than they had to, but not a bad showing for you guys. At least,
first of all, I think
on its face.
At the time, early in the first quarter, we talked about Muschamp going for it on fourth down. In retrospect, I think it's pretty clear that Will thought he wanted to go in there and win a football game. I mean, you'd have hooked him up to a lie detector test and said, "Do you think you can beat this team in Death Valley?" His answer would have been yes, and he'd have been telling the truth. So he knew that South Carolina's defense was going to stop no one that night. And if you watch the play calling,
they didn't.
And if you watch the play calling on defense, we weren't particularly trying to stop anybody. We were trying to make them take a little bit of time in between touchdowns. Let's make this drive take 3 minutes off the clock, so this game doesn't just go on forever. And we didn't give up any, 90-yard touchdowns like the Redskins.
No, they were pretty much just going down the field on you all night long.
Well, and I mean, again, there were 6 true freshmen on the field. And at one point, we literally had no one to sub in. Like, the defense was gassed, looked at the sideline. We don't have anybody, guys.
You're it, man.
That's it. Lost another player, Danny Fennell, to an ACL tear, first quarter of the game.
I saw you had one that didn't even make the trip down there. What was it? One of them didn't even make the trip.
Because he had surgery.
Yeah.
Yep. Either way, I'm not making excuses. Clemson's offense is what it is. But I think that South Carolina's defensive effort for the entire season, especially the second half, I just posted it on a message board a few minutes ago, it's kind of a wash, man. Look, you've got no depth. You have the guys that should have been your playmakers. Every single one of them was out for this game.
Well, look, I've never been a fan of using things as excuses, but the fact is, you were playing defense with guys who were going to redshirt.
Yes,
I mean these guys
were 18 years old.
Were never supposed to play a snap of college football.
2 of them,
and here they are in basically the biggest, highest profile game of the year.
And Muschamp, he basically said, "Look, I hate that I had to put them in this situation because it didn't help their confidence in it. It's not good experience, but look." I
disagree. Look, you gave up a lot of points.
Well, I think you can look at them now and say, that's as bad as this ever going to get.
Well, as I say, you gave up a lot of points, but you scored a lot of points. And what I told someone earlier today, we were talking about it, I said, what I liked about you guys' football team Saturday is you didn't quit.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, you got jumped on, you got punched in the mouth. Thought you kind of quit.
Especially 2 years ago.
Especially 2 years ago. To be honest, when it got to 49-21, I said, okay. And I cut it off. I didn't see it again until the very end of the ball game. But I said, okay, that's it. And to you guys' credit, you answered the bell right back, and you climbed right back into the game. And in my opinion, I think you kind of got under the skin of old Dabo.
Oh, I don't.
Just a tad.
I don't think there's any question that Muschamp got under his skin a little bit, because I think he expected us to just lay down, because that's what he's become accustomed to. And I don't know if you watched it up until the end, but you put another 20 seconds on that clock, South Carolina was going to score another touchdown.
Well,
they were sprinting down the field. I think they went 60 yards in 3 plays, and Jake just couldn't get back up under center to spike the ball because the clock ran out. Let alone the fact that their students are running onto the field while the clock's still running. But that's not an issue, I guess.
I think if I'm Will Muschamp, not to take the moral victory route, but that was
No, I mean, let's be honest.
That was a good effort. That was a very good effort by a very shorthanded South Carolina team. They're overmatched, overmanned at every position. But if I'm Dabo Swinney, and I know he tried to cover this up, but if I'm Dabo Swinney, I'm not real happy with what I saw Saturday. Because when you're looking ahead to the playoff, we'll get to this in a little bit, but you're looking. Did you see Ohio State's offense Saturday?
I did.
They were amazing. We know Oklahoma's offense is amazing. We know Alabama's offense is amazing. That's not a good sign. And to me, that's a big red flag for Clemson.
I think that, first of all, let me just get back to what I was going to say is, if you're a Clemson fan, don't misunderstand me. You beat us by 21 points, okay? I think probably you're a better team than 21 points over us. But the thing that I took out of it anymore is that this felt like just a talent issue. It did not feel like
you're on two different wavelengths.
We're scared. Yeah. I don't think that there's a player coming back for South Carolina now that is afraid to play Clemson. Does that mean that they beat us again next year, or we beat them? I don't know. But going into this game, I was really, we talked about it. I was concerned about this team's ability to be in the game, like in their head. Yes. And they showed Jake Bentley in particular. I mean, his stat line speaks for itself, but he came out from the very first pass, and he had pressure in his face, and he just stood in the pocket and dealt the football. And of course, if you're a South Carolina fan, that's a positive.
Listen, that's a kid. You just got to tip your cap to Jake Bentley, because this was a kid, like we've said many times, South Carolina fans, a lot of them were ready to throw dirt on this kid. I mean, he was. You listen to some of them talking, he was just absolute trash back there at quarterback. He goes into Death Valley Saturday, one of the handful of toughest environments in college football right now.
At night.
In
a rivalry game.
He torches, in the last 2 years, he's gotten hammered in this football game.
Oh, no, the last 2 years.
500 yards and 5 touchdowns for Jake Bentley.
The South Carolina offense has not crossed the 50-yard line up until this year against their first-team defense in the first half. Had not crossed the 50. Think about that. I mean.
Well, and on the Clemson side, the two SEC teams that they've played this year,
neither of which are
really world
third. These are middle of the pack.
SEC teams. Both of them absolutely torched this Clemson defense.
And I'll tell you what I think it is. I mean, I think some of it is, I've told you this. Brent Venables was not Brent Venables when he was in the Big 12. His Oklahoma defenses got blistered pretty frequently. And when he came to Clemson, a lot of people, Clemson fans included, went back and looked at his numbers from Oklahoma and thought, okay, what is this? And it's been a talent issue. I mean, he doesn't even have to worry about blitzing. I mean, most ACC teams, he just lines his front four up, says go after the football.
Well, they even said as much at one point in the broadcast Saturday. They just said that.
Yeah.
He doesn't blitz. He tells those guys, he turns guys like Christian Wilkins loose and lets them go.
But I do think that the talent disparity between South Carolina and the teams Clemson plays had something to do with that, and A&M, because I don't think it's that Clemson's linebackers can't do this stuff, but the muscle memory is not there.
Yeah.
The twitch, your brain can't catch up to a split second when your body's used to being able to kind of just take it easy. Clemson plays so few teams that can even be on the field with them. And it's not Clemson's fault that they're in the ACC. I've said over and over, every time I bash the ACC, I turn right back around and say I wish South Carolina had never left it. But I think some of that is true. But the thing was, TanMan, they didn't adjust. Bentley came out in the second half and did the exact same thing. Now, they didn't score as often. The starters did get pulled at some point, but they went back in.
Yeah. Well, the Clemson had some longer drives, some longer scoring drives in the second half, too. But I want to ask you, the hot topic has been that last touchdown at the end where Dabo runs ETN there at the end to push it to 3 touchdowns. It seems like the 3 touchdowns, like that was a big benchmark in Sweeney's head. What's your take on that? As a Gamecock fan.
Well, I tweeted this morning that I was going to say something on the show about it. First of all, it doesn't bother me in the least.
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
If Will Muschamp had the opportunity to add one more touchdown against Clemson and he didn't take it, I'd want to slap him in the face.
Like Steve Spurrier built a career on being that guy to run up the score when he was at Florida.
Yeah.
It's to me,
and again, to be honest, I think most South Carolina fans that are complaining about it, it's just because they don't like Dabo. It doesn't have anything to do with the score. And again, people have pointed this out that it's not what happened; it's the mentality he tries to peddle, and then to go do that, and they to have spent all week basically in his press conferences complaining about being 5-bombed and blah, 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 and I don't like being disrespected like that, and then to go out and do something that the national media at least kind of took to be disrespectful. I don't think it was necessarily smart. I think it makes you look a little smaller, but I don't have a problem with it.
Maybe it makes him look a little petty, but here's my thing when it comes to this.
The fact that he ran his starters back out there, it's really obvious, and you can't turn around and say, no, we weren't trying to score.
Yeah,
That's just called lying, and it's not good lying.
Here's my thing. I'm fine with it when you are playing an equal. When you have somebody, when you're in a fight with somebody that can punch you back, I've got no problem with you landing that extra blow. It's whenever you play,
right?
The Furmans or the Wake Forest or somebody that can't hit you back. That's when I have a problem with it. But this, South Carolina pounded them, wore their defense out all night long. I've got no problem with Dabo tackling another one on.
And Muschamp was calling timeouts when Clemson was about to punt. We were trying to score more points.
Right.
So it was a game.
Yeah.
If nothing else, that's a compliment to you.
To me, that says Sweeney recognizes. They're starting to come. They're landing some blows here.
Well, now let's not make the argument this was a football decision, though. The game was over. We had no timeouts left.
No.
They take a knee, it's over. But here's my point, though. I really don't think this had anything. Everybody wants to say, well, it's South Carolina. What do you expect? I don't think it had much to do with it being South Carolina. I think it has to do with Dabo. Look, I'm convinced that he still hears the criticism he got early in his career that people don't take him seriously as a football coach. Have you noticed, he's just started carrying a play card on the sidelines in the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
He never used to have a play card. He insists on having a play card now. So, you wonder, and we talked about it starting with Wake Forest at the middle of October. He's been beating the mess out of everybody they've played this season, the second half. He's very aware of his reputation. And, again, why did he get so defensive with Clemson fans the other night in the teleconference? This guy is... He's chippy right now. He's chippy right now.
I don't entirely get it.
Well,
he's basically owning college football right now.
I haven't seen any Clemson fans saying the things. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking to all of them, but I follow a lot of Clemson podcasters and sort of fan site guys on Twitter, and I didn't see anybody say this game felt like a loss. So
is it something he came up with?
Well,
it could.
This would not be the first manufactured rant he's gone on after a South Carolina game.
Well, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with his defensive effort. You could tell that just from watching the game on the sidelines. You could tell he was getting a little agitated with what was happening out there. He and Venables got into it a time or two on the sideline.
Yep.
So I think that might be where some of this some of his chippiness and his pettiness comes from.
Because people say this was calculated, but I don't understand calculated to do what. I mean, it's not going to fire your fan base up. I understood when he went after South Carolina after he had lost to them 3 times and, you know, Carolina's in Chapel Hill and USC's in California, that whole thing. I didn't like it. It made me angry. I thought he insulted my school, not just my football team, and I thought it was very low class and rehearsed. But I understood it. This doesn't make any sense to me.
He was a younger head coach then.
Oh, no question.
You know, he's a little older. He's won a little bit now. He doesn't do the same kind of childish sounding stuff every time you stick a microphone in front of his face after a game that he did years and years ago.
That Auburn game.
Oh, it was awful. What do you think? Is the gap closing a little bit? Because to me, it looks like it is.
Here's
Just a tad.
Here's
it looks
the
like
thing.
the gap is
We've
closing.
talked about this. The reason I think the gap is closing some is because Clemson is about as good as you can get, right? I mean, you can't. I don't know. I mean, short of quarterback, this team's just as good as the team that won the national title.
No question.
Now, I think, and I'm going to say this to the end of time.
Except maybe in that secondary.
Well, Deshaun Watson, though, is
but even that secondary got torched by
that
Alabama in those championship games.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson at quarterback, I think that deficiency is a pretty huge one. If Trevor Lawrence, and he did have one nice running play, but it was on a play where no one was watching him. If Trevor Lawrence could run like Deshaun Watson did, he would be.
Yeah.
God, I don't even want to think about it because he's got Mahomes like passing skills now. I mean, the kid can sling a football, but
I want to know who these idiots were that said go with Kelly Bryant. Clowns, man.
Yeah. But so is the gap closing some? I think this year mostly it closed in a mental standpoint. I just think that this is going to be a good football game in Columbia next year. It wouldn't be. I mean, everybody's saying South Carolina's going to win it. I think let's pump the brakes on that because Clemson could very easily be undefeated again going into that game.
I think
and why wouldn't they be?
It's a pretty good possibility.
And I can guarantee you South Carolina will not be. But just from if you come at it from that standpoint of we're not worried about who we're playing, right? We're trying to get better. South Carolina got better Saturday night.
I agree.
I think this offense in this game coming up against Akron and against the bowl game, it's looking like it might be Miami down in the Gator Bowl. I think you're going to see this offense continue to hum. And Brian McClendon probably made himself a lot of money Saturday night because they're going to do what it takes to keep him.
Yeah.
I think they've learned that from watching Dabo Swinney.
Yeah. Well, you guys are probably going to pony up and keep McClendon, keep your coaching staff intact. Up in Chapel Hill, the coaching staff will not be intact. Less than 24 hours after.
I mean, we had a whole timeline here to talk about.
Less than 24 hours after they lose, Larry Fedora is out. He's gone before lunchtime on Sunday afternoon, BG.
Which is what I texted you yesterday, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense unless they've got someone in mind. And
right.
Turns out they've had someone in mind for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah, it turns out that's the truth. I don't know if you saw the end of the ball game. I thought that there was a small chance that Fedora would be back next year. I think I said this once we got off the air and we're shooting the bull last week after the show. I think there was a small chance he was going to stay. Like I said, the buyout's pretty huge.
Yeah.
He dealt with a lot of injuries. Saw a lot of Carolina fans over the weekend saying,
and the team kept playing.
The team kept playing, but he's terrible at this, he's awful at that. He can't make a decision at quarterback. And I finally said, look, he tried to change quarterbacks like 4 times, and every time he put one of them in,
they got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, that's not on him.
I was unable to watch the game Saturday because it was blacked out for me. Yeah, I guess I'm close enough to Eastern North Carolina that I was expected to attend.
I think it was on one of those Raycom channels or something. I know it's on the ESPN app.
Well, see, I don't go upstairs and use the antenna unless it's the Super Bowl. I just don't mess with that.
So right now there's a lot of back and forth between North Carolina fans about whether it's the right move or the wrong move. To be honest, I can see it both ways. I don't think getting into a brawl when you're 20 feet from your locker room door at the end of a ball game, it's not a good look.
No.
Turns out in hindsight, I don't think that it was really anything Fedora could do to save his job. I think this was happening.
No, I agree. I guess here's my question. If you say it's the wrong move, I mean, what Fedora would have been going into his 8th season.
Yeah.
And one wonders what the upside. I think both of us just like him. I like listening to him talk. He says stupid stuff. I enjoy that in a head coach. I love coaches that say stupid stuff.
I enjoy people in positions of leadership that say silly things from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah. But you think probably losing in that title game in Charlotte to Clemson 3 years ago might have been the apex of what North Carolina football can achieve right now, and to not have built on that. I mean, because North Carolina high school football has gotten so much better over the past 20 years. You don't have to leave the state of North Carolina to have one hell of a football team.
Well,
and he was just not able to do that. We talked about it last year. I told you, you go back and look at his recruiting classes. They were consistently in the 40s, pushing down toward 50.
I think that was part of what sealed the deal for Larry Fedora was that the story is that North Carolina high school football coaches just don't care for him.
Yeah.
He hasn't really endeared himself to them up there. Something that what appears to be his successor did very well years ago. It's coming out today. I don't know if it's
not official. I'm going to get on Twitter while you're talking and just make sure nothing's changed.
But it appears
it's being reported by CBS and Yahoo.
It appears that it's all but a done deal that Mack Brown is going to be the next head football coach at North Carolina. BG, I will start off with this. As far as the Mack Brown goes, I think he's a heck of a football coach. His record speaks for itself. But I don't know that going out and hiring a 67-year-old guy
same age as Saban, not quite the same situation.
Kind of a different situation. Hiring a 67-year-old guy for basically what is a total program rebuild, unless he comes along with one heck of a staff. And
nothing coming out on this, by the way, in the last 6 hours. It's still just reported.
Unless Mack Brown comes in with a heck of a staff, and
you're already hearing Chiswick.
What you're hearing is Chiswick. I've heard Cliff Kingsbury coming on as offensive coordinator. If that happens, sign me up.
No question.
That's big time.
No question.
But unless he comes with a staff like that,
Kingsbury to North Carolina makes absolutely zero sense to me, though. He's not from there. He has no ties there, other than the fact that he's open for a job and they're open for a recorder. I mean, I know that, but he's going to be trying to stick around Texas because he wants to be a head coach. All right, now the Chiswick thing's a little more interesting though, because Chiswick lives in Charlotte. He works for the SEC Network in Charlotte.
Yep.
Okay, he's been there before in the same job. This time, I wonder, with a 67-year-old coach coming in, and this is all stuff you realize because we're talking about this. There's zero chance.
Yeah, they're going to hire a defensive coordinator that
while we're on the air. We won't know about it. Yeah. Anyway, so let's just go with this though. I've already started. Chiswick goes to Chapel Hill. Is it as a head coach in waiting? I mean, that's the thing that keeps coming out there. I would,
It kind of makes you wonder what happened that he left in the first place. Because he didn't leave for another coaching job.
And he did a good job.
He did a good job, and the stories are coming out now that apparently he didn't even live there. Like he was, commuting.
Yeah.
Like he still lived in Charlotte. He still did everything in Charlotte, and he would commute to Chapel Hill. So Chiswick it didn't seem like he was fully invested in the program the first go-round. So if he comes a second go-round with Mack Brown.
Was that a Fedora thing,
Maybe. Yeah. But it's hard to think that if he is going to sign up for a second go-round.
And let's keep in mind that one of the reasons his name's coming up is just because he's there and he did that.
Do I really want Gene Chiswick?
I don't know. I don't think Gene Chiswick's one of those guys to
like
me
as a head coach in waiting.
We don't have a really good picture of what he can do because of Cam Newton.
Well, that's what I was
Cam Newton was one of those players. He was a Deshaun Watson. He changed everything about that team. Cam Newton might have won a national title that year if he had played at Oklahoma State. I don't know. I mean,
Chiswick coming as a DC to me is a no-brainer, but if we're going to bring him in and already designate him as the head coach in waiting is what you're hearing, that didn't really do a lot for me. Because like I said, other than Cam Newton, he basically ran Auburn into the ground.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, hasn't gotten so much as a sniff of a head coaching job since.
And one could make the argument that Gus Malzahn, who everyone said was, he was the original Chad Kelly, right? He was the real success behind that program. He's now run Auburn into the ground. Maybe Auburn runs itself into the ground. I don't know. Speaking of head coaches in waiting, Mack Brown had one of those before, and he will be facing him in Charlotte to start the season next year.
I did see that.
Will Muschamp, Mack Brown, and from my understanding, they're really close. I think they're still in constant contact. I don't know if you remember Muschamp's first spring game in Columbia. Mack Brown was actually there broadcasting it. Spent a lot of time down on the field talking to Will, and you could just tell that they still have a lot of respect. I don't think Brown's confused at all about why Will Muschamp left Texas. I mean, University of Florida offers you a head coaching job.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Mack Brown thing, I guess on some level it could make sense, but to me, when you just look at some of the names that are out there, most notably Satterfield at Appalachian State, he was born in Hillsborough, North Carolina, literally like right down the road from Chapel Hill.
Tony Elliott's
a name. Of course, I don't know if I want, and I don't say this as a non-Clemson, I just don't know if I want those Clemson assistants. Because I don't know if it's them or if it's just kind of the bigger
Well, with the talent
machine.
they've got, it's really hard to know. It's really hard to know.
Yeah. But, so anyway.
So what you're saying is that you guys don't have a New Spring Church in Chapel Hill? I mean, what are you saying?
Not that I'm aware of, but.
I mean.
Could be wrong.
Come on now.
What are you saying?
Huh?
What are you saying?
I'm saying that I think Clemson pays its players. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think most of the country is saying that. I mean, I think South Carolina pays its players too, but clearly not as much. Like I said, everybody's up to their waist in crap. Some people are up to their eyeballs.
Well, I don't know another way to transition from that explosive accusation, so we'll just move on.
You asked me.
Championship football weekend, conference championships are going on this week. A few makeup games. Sunday afternoon. We'll know who the final four teams in college football are.
Oh, well, I guess there is a little bit of
intrigue. There's a little bit of intrigue.
Very little.
Yeah, 75% of it, in my opinion. I hear some people trying to push this idea that Alabama could possibly be left out.
Oh, my God.
Give me a break, man.
We've had this conversation like 3 years in a row.
It's a wrap. 75% of it is a done deal. Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson are in.
Georgia's a question.
Ohio
State's a question.
If Georgia wins, I think Georgia's got the inside track. They're not leaving them out. But say Georgia loses, who do you think gets the nod between Ohio State and Oklahoma, assuming they both win?
Who has the worst loss? I guess that's really the question.
Well, that's the worst
Purdue?
loss. Well, as I say, the worst loss is clearly Ohio State's loss to Purdue. But Heather Dennis with ESPN. Yeah, that's all she does is this college football playoff stuff. And she says, and if she says it, I'll take it to the bank, that there was a real, live, actual discussion and debate last year about whether or not to go with Alabama or Ohio State for that last spot. Now, granted, that was Alabama not playing for the conference championship because they had lost to Auburn the week before.
Right.
But the fact that they were actually having a debate about maybe leaving Alabama out for a conference champion in Ohio State leads me to believe that even with that bad loss on there, that is not going to weigh as much.
That the Big Ten is one of those conferences that if you can win it, you're getting in.
I'm thinking if it were me, I would put Oklahoma in because I just think from the start to the finish, they've had.
You're just an inch shy of Oklahoma becoming your new Nebraska.
But listen to me.
You just are all
from start to finish. You look at Oklahoma's body of work. They haven't gone through this lull. Now they don't have a win that looks as good as Ohio State just blistering Michigan last week, right?
Right.
But they don't have this lull where they play like trash for a month and squeak by mediocre teams. Indiana's, the Maryland's, Minnesota's, Nebraska's, like Ohio State did. So is this big win over Michigan overshadow everything else that they've done?
I do not.
Or are we looking for a whole season?
No, I think the committee is pretty free from the sort of overreactions that most of us have. Oh, they're in. They just beat Michigan by 30-something points. Yeah, no, I don't think the committee reacts that way. I kind of lean towards what you're saying. I think Oklahoma has a better than average shot of sneaking in that fourth spot.
See, I disagree with you. I lulled you in, I sucked you in. I think they're going. If that's the case, I think they do put Ohio State.
How are we going to do this show if we can't be honest with each other, man?
I didn't say.
What? No.
Listen to me. I painted a picture for you and let you make
a dishonest picture.
I know. I painted an honest picture. That's actually what happened, and let you make a case, let you make an argument for what you thought. I'm saying I don't think that they're going to leave the Big Ten out 2 years in a row. I don't think that 2 years in a row they're not going to look at the Big Ten champion and say, no. And we're
crap
going
like
to go
that is why I'm done with this whole thing, because it's like you said. Turns out the computer worked pretty well. Let's just explain. I know I saw the
you
link.
saw the thing where it's basically
the same
the top 9 teams from using the BCS formula were the exact same thing that the committee came out with.
And I just don't understand why. Well, I do understand why, but I would be one of those guys, if I was in charge of a league, I would really just care the most about having the most sensible product you can in a situation like this. And the first thing we all need to admit is every system is stupid in this situation, because you're literally talking about crowning a champion from teams that don't play this, that not only do they not play each other, they don't play the same competition. It's absurd to begin with. But given that, I would have stuck with the computers. But here's the thing, man. We wanted to manufacture controversy. That's all this is. And it works. It works.
I think that this was the perfect storm for a team like Central Florida to get in. And their quarterback goes and tears his leg to pieces. Because could you imagine Alabama wins, then you got Georgia with 2 losses. What if Texas has already beaten Oklahoma? What if Texas were to beat Oklahoma again and give them 2? What if Ohio State loses? They've got 2 losses. And then you've still got a undefeated Central Florida team fully healthy. I think they've got an out now that Milton is out. All right, I think that's the committee's golden ticket to not putting them in any consideration. But could you imagine a healthy, ready to go, undefeated Central Florida team standing there, and all the other teams in the consideration for that 4th spot have got 2 losses, and you still tell them no?
Right.
Okay. All right now. Okay. How could you justify that one?
And people that laugh about the whole idea that Central Florida could be one of those teams, they're a legitimate football team.
Oh yes.
People need to stop that stuff. I don't want to
ask Auburn.
Yes.
They're the real deal now.
Yeah.
But this, I think that kid getting hurt.
Oh no, that
changes everything. Mm-hmm. But man, they were so close to being on the edge to getting in this thing. I hate it for them.
Need an 8-team playoff. It is.
How much longer till we get there? At least 6.
Yeah, it's going to be a while because of the TV contracts, and I'm sure it's being hammered out. I think we need to do away with the regular season. Do 164-team playoffs starting in week 1.
Well, then South Carolina and North Carolina might actually be able to get into it for once.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, if it's lose or go home, though, our seasons could be very short.
Well, right now, I think a lot of North Carolina fans would probably be all right with that.
Your football season ends the 2nd week of October anyway. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, BG, let's get to our picks before we run out of time. The last little bit of the show last week, BG goes 5-5. The TanMan goes 6-4. Pick up another game. The lead is 4, so we'll get right to it. Makeup game, championship weekend, and the Gamecocks are squaring off with the Zips. The mighty Akron Zips, BG. The Gamecocks are giving 29 points in this one.
That's a lot of points, man. That's a pretty good Akron team. I mean,
they're 4-7.
They're 4-7, but it's a hard fought 4-7. I'm gonna the way that South Carolina's offense is playing right now. I think this might be a week we score 50 plus. So I could see Akron getting 14 to 17 points, but I think South Carolina covers. Not by much, but I think South Carolina covers.
So
South Carolina 9-2 versus the spread this year.
Well, the Gamecocks, you're telling me you're going to beat this team by 4 touchdowns. Part of me says, yeah, that's a no-brainer because, like I said, Akron is the only teams that they've beaten in their conference are the bottom teams in each division. But I wonder how much time that the starters are going to play on offense. Like, this is the perfect time to run DeCarrion Joyner out there and let him take it, run Bentley out for a couple series and turn it over to Joyner. Some of these backups on offense.
Well, but Jake Bentley has a chance to break the single-season touchdown
How
record,
far
too.
away from that is he?
4. It hurts when your partner does this to you, doesn't it?
Man.
See, you're always manipulating me. You don't like it when it works the other way.
Oh, man. You know what? I'll take Akron in the 29. I think South Carolina winds up sitting some starters pretty early in that one.
We can't sit anybody, man. You mean on offense?
On offense. All right, give me Akron in the 29. The Gamecocks sit some guys early. That one's over pretty early. The Big 12 title game, this one in Dallas, Texas, getting their second crack at Oklahoma. The Sooners are giving up 7.5 points. Give me Texas in the points. I think Oklahoma wins it, but I'll take Texas in the points. This one wound up being Texas up big the first time they met. Oklahoma stormed back late in the ball game, wound up making it really tight. I think this one is a pretty good one all the way through.
I agree with you because I don't think Oklahoma can stop anybody's offense. That's the problem. I mean, it's hard to win by a bunch when the other team scores every time they get the ball. So unless Texas just does one of those Taj Boy things against Florida State where you're just running down the field and the football flies out of your hand. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go with Texas to cover the spread.
The SEC title game. This one is the one that kind of got me going, the top team in the country, Alabama, they're taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. I imagine Georgia's probably going to be the 4th team in the playoff rankings when they come out. But they are getting 13.5 points. So basically, do you think that Alabama is 2 touchdowns better than Georgia?
I guess we'll wonder how does Georgia compare to LSU? That's kind of a question here, right? Because we both just jumped all over Alabama to cover versus LSU. You know what? They've covered every time I've picked them, and I don't feel good about it. I don't even see how it's possible, but I think Georgia can't cover this. I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide, man.
I'm going to take Georgia in the points in this one.
Okay. It's not a bad – I should.
I'm going to take Georgia in the points. This one is basically a replay of the national title game last year, only this time you get Tua for a whole game instead of just a half.
Which is why I think they cover.
Yeah, like you said, they've covered every other time.
Yeah, even when it has looked stupid.
Yes.
Except that one game versus the Citadel. We knew, man.
Ding, ding, ding.
We
ding,
knew.
Ding. Geniuses. Give me the dogs in the
Well, it was a 160-point spread, wasn't it?
Here's one. Clemson versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has got 5 losses on the year. Every team in the Coastal Division has 5 losses, which, side note, that's another reason I thought Fedora might get another year because you can't tell me that they're that far off from being a 5-loss football team.
Right.
Pittsburgh getting 26 points in the conference title game, BG. Any chance that this is closer than that? I'll start off. Absolutely not, man. Clemson is going to destroy Pittsburgh.
You have that feeling. The only thing I'm trying to think of is there a weird little vibe up in Clemson right now? Like, who knows what's actually going on in the locker room? I mean, you kind of got these Venables rumors jumping out there.
Yeah.
He's coming out with some really strong quotes about staying in Clemson, which is usually a sure sign that you're getting ready to leave, as opposed to I'm not talking about this right now.
Yeah.
Just coming back. Why would I think about leaving this place? I have no interest. That's usually when you're leaving.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and the way that because you could make the argument that Pittsburgh's not a lot better than not a lot worse than South Carolina. I'm just gonna stay safe here and go with Clemson.
Finally, on the college side.
I can't lose every game to you.
On the college side, the Big Ten title game, number 21 Northwestern against number 6 Ohio State. The Buckeyes are giving up 2 touchdowns to the Wildcats.
I'm going to go with Ohio State to cover this.
I agree with you.
I think they probably come out looking remedied after last week's win.
Do you remember a couple years ago, I think it was the year that they couldn't go to a bowl game, but somehow were still allowed, the Big Ten still let them play in the championship, and they came out and beat Wisconsin like 59-0?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think you might see something like that.
I agree.
I think Ohio State's going to win this one big.
There's a big disparity between those two divisions, too.
Oh, there is. Since they did the realignment a few years ago and they stuck Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State all in the same side, or Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
My Lord, will everybody be Northwestern Wildcat fans on Saturday? Because I've never seen somebody hate it as much as Urban Meyer is right now.
We mentioned Akron at the top of the picks list. You know who Akron beat early on in the season?
Who'd they beat?
Northwestern.
Oh, that's right.
And so Ohio State is going to smack Northwestern upside the head Saturday night. Thursday night, these hard-charging Dallas Cowboys, the NFC East leading Dallas Cowboys,
the Washington MASH unit,
host the New Orleans Saints, may be the best team in football. I don't know. The Cowboys are getting 8 points at home. BG, give me the Cowboys and the 8 points.
Oh, my God, no.
I don't know if they win.
No.
But give me the 8 points.
No. Saints all day, man. They spank you guys. This will not be a football game.
You don't think so?
No way.
Not even close.
No. I watched you barely beat us on Thanksgiving.
We let y'all hang around.
We
let y'all hang around for
93-year-old quarterback throwing to a high school backup.
We let you hang around for ratings purposes.
Well, great. Good for you.
Yeah,
you get killed by the Saints.
Panthers at the Buccaneers.
If I were you, I would turn your phone off before that game starts.
I probably will.
But if you guys are winning, don't even text me because I will have turned my phone.
Panthers at the Bucks. The Bucks are getting 4 points in this one, BG. Where
I'll tell you what, man. Carolina in a free fall right now. They've lost 3 straight. I mean, you know, they have not been good on the road.
No, they haven't.
Tampa Bay looked pretty good yesterday. I think the Panthers win this thing by a field goal, so I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to cover the spread.
I'll take the Panthers. I give the points. They've lost 3 in a row. They got to get back on. They got to get back on the horse sometime.
And the Buccaneers are not a good team. Not a good team.
You never know if Tampa Bay is going to be one of those teams that scores 30 points if they're going to score 3 points.
Well, I'll tell you what, the standings between us is going to change this week, one way or the other.
Yeah. The Vikings at the Patriots for the national game Sunday afternoon. The Patriots are giving up 7.5 to Minnesota. Give me the Patriots at home. I'll give you the 7.5.
Minnesota just isn't the team we thought they were going to be.
I just don't know what to make out of it.
They're just not.
Yeah, I just don't know what to make.
Well, I think we know what the problem is. We got a turnover machine at quarterback.
So does it have about 80 million reasons why they're struggling?
Yes, it does.
Sunday night, the
wouldn't have mind having him on Thanksgiving, but that's okay.
The Los Angeles Chargers at Pittsburgh.
You said it right, man. That's the first time one of us has called.
Well, I caught some of the national guys the other day saying San Diego.
I mean, it's impossible.
It just rolls off your tongue.
Yeah.
But the LA Chargers at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 3.5. Who you got, BG?
I think the Chargers win this game.
All right. Give me the Steelers at home.
I've been high on the Chargers all year, man. I'm telling you, they are the best team that nobody talks about. How'd you like those unis yesterday?
And they need a win.
How'd you like those unis yesterday? They look sharp, man. That's a nice looking blue.
Both of those teams need wins in a bad way after last week. And finally, Monday night, the Washington Redskins at the Eagles. I really need Washington to just go ahead and put the nail in the coffin in Philadelphia because they're still just hanging around there, just a game behind.
You guys are going to win the division, 7. Man. Nobody's left.
Yeah.
I told you that. This is not the Redskins team that we've been talking about.
30 seconds.
Eagles.
I agree with you. Give me the Eagles. I agree. So that'll do it for episode number 83.
This NFC Championship game edition of the...
I hit the wrong thing.
That didn't work at all.
No, it went to the wrong thing. Here we go.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
That's
that your little rivalry dig because you beat Colt McCoy?
Yep. You get to play with your phone, so I get to play with my phone too.
You're petty.
I don't care.
At least we beat the real Dallas Cowboys instead of.
I'm down.